Alright everybody, hold your breath, because it's time to dive deep into the turbulent waters of Planet Slizer, home to the Throwbot Scuba, or Sub the Slizer. Wait a moment, both of those names are actually good. A very rare occurrence for the theme. I'd tip my hat if I was wearing one, or if my hands could actually reach my head. The set was released in 1999 and had an original asking price of around £5. This brought you 39 pieces, the third highest piece count for the standard Throwbots in a pod. Scuba's pod, or submersible mode of transport, if this disc is to be believed, is coloured blue and blue, with a reuse of the blue base from his teammate Ski, and an all-new, all-exclusive top in that lighter blue, mirroring his own colour scheme. Scuba patrols the oceans of Planet Slizer, hunting for powerful pearls that he uses to defeat mutant gobblers. I'm assuming that that's the canonical name for those brainy jellyfish that pop up in Scuba's artwork. Mutant gobblers is, let's face it, a very silly name, but very in keeping with the tone of Throwbots. I should also cover a little of my own personal history with this guy, as it's one of the 3 sets that I actually encountered as a kid. My older brother was the proud owner of this set when we were younger, and although this is not the exact model that we had, I think it's important to bring up that fact. I may be looking at this set through envious younger sibling eyes, but I'll try to remain as objective as possible. Besides, I had the best Throwbot anyway. Of the 39 pieces in this set, a few of them stand out, some for obvious reasons, like this exclusive yellow hose that acts as a breathing tube. In fact, Scuba has a few yellow elements gently splashed throughout the build, breaking with the traditional 2-colour building system that we see in many sets in the line. Other notable exceptions being Turbo and Ski that we looked at previously. I'm pleased to say though that the additional colours don't muddy the look of this model, adding a much needed pop to the 2 blue tone that could have been rather dull otherwise. A yellow propeller, integral for Sub to traverse the underwater habitat that he calls home, is a fantastic addition. It's a great bit of buildable storytelling. Of course Sub needs a method of propulsion to get him around. I'm surprised that more underwater characters did not use this simple detail in future sets. Bionicle had a whole line where the characters travelled underwater, and none of them had propellers. The only other time I can remember a water-based character having a propeller is with Gally Nuva, the second iteration of Gally's character in Bionicle, which surely can't be right. Please let me know in the comments down below if I'm forgetting any other characters that have this fantastic little detail on their builds. Another surprising yellow part that I want to have a chat about is the throwing disc. As per usual, the set comes with 2 discs. This level 3 dark turquoise one depicting Turbo firing a disc. The second one is this yellow one with a water drop on it, clearly representing the section of Planet Slizer that Sub defends. But yellow being the disc colour for Sub is odd, given that yellow is predominantly the colour of Judge or Jet. There are no Slizers with blue discs, and that seems like the perfect colour to use for Sub's discs. Maybe it would be too similar to the purple discs used by Electro, but that's my best guess as to why blue was never used as a base colour for these throwing discs. Whilst we are talking about Sub's discs, the artwork is very interesting. Here on this level 4 disc, we see Sub's pod racing down to the ocean floors, headlights ablaze, but take a closer look. The base part of the pod is actually yellow, and not the blue that we actually received in the completed set. This detail was pointed out to me by Beyond Bionicles, so a big thanks goes to him for bringing this to my attention. He mentioned it in the comments section on my Throwbot Mystery Disc video, which you should probably go and check out if you want to have a closer look at some of the other discs in the line. It seems to me that the original plan for Sub's pod was to have a yellow base, which would tie in a little bit neater with the concept of him having yellow discs. I imagine that this got changed due to budget. A lot of the base colours of the pods are shared, black being used in 6 pods, 2 in that regular blue colour, and 1 apiece for the turquoise and grey pod bases, giving us a total of 4 unique colours for the bases of the pods to mix and match. If things hadn't diverted from the original plan, it would mean that our all turquoise pod could stand side by side with an all yellow pod. Alas, the closest that we can get to recreating the original vision of Sub's pod is by putting Judge's yellow top onto the dark blue base. It looks good, but the 2 blues make more sense in my mind, as the yellow that we get in Sub's set is really just a highlight colour in my mind, and not the main dish. Now let's move on to talking about some very interesting parts included in this set. Part 3023 and Part 2540 may not seem a particularly interesting pair of parts in the grand scheme of LEGO, but in the world of Throwbots, I think that these may be the only studded elements included in these pod sets. Used as a connection point under the chin, they attach the breathing hose to the head of Sub. It's an intriguing use of the head, and not one that's repeated in any other sets. But I hope to do something similar for some kind of Christmas Throwbot, or Santa Slizer if that's more your speed. Sub's blue body is exclusively used only in this set, but that yellow worm gear piece is shared with 3 other Throwbot sets and makes an appearance in an Alpha Team set and the Steven Spielberg movie making set. Very interesting. I'd feel bad talking about every other yellow part in this set if I did not mention the 6th and final yellow piece, Sub's spear gun, a useful tool for any underwater setting. This minifigure accessory scales well with the Throwbots and is also available in yellow in 9 other sets. Finally, in the parts section of this video, I'd like to have a look at the faceplate of Sub. Yellow printing on a blue visor piece, mismatched eyes is a fun detail, and that hint of a round breathing apparatus at the bottom of the faceplate ties together with the breathing tube attached to the bottom of the head part. The functions and features found in Sub's set are fairly standard for any bipedal Throwbot. Arms move at the shoulders and at the wrists, and legs are posable from the hips and ankle joints. This does allow him enough mobility to imitate his submersible pose, as seen on this level 5 disc, where Sub is seen speeding away from a creature at the bottom of a whirlpool. This suggestion gives kids a way of speeding Sub out of danger in a way that he doesn't need his pod or need to do any fancy swimming strokes underwater. One of the benefits of having a propeller on your back. That spear gun may not be able to fire any projectiles, but that throwing arm sure does pack a punch of its own. Spinning the propeller on the back moves the head up and down, and once again the visor is also able to move, as if he is trying to talk to us through the water. I do have to give a big thumbs up in the slight difference in posture that Sub has managed to achieve over other Throwbots, flipping those hip connectors back so that it gives him a little belly that he can pat. Scuba does have one very tragic drawback, however. The distinctive yellow breathing tube is connected by placing it over a bar on that modified 1x2 plate, but time has made this tube fragile, and it has split on a number of occasions, meaning I had to cut it so that it can stay attached. One day this piece is going to be too short to be used in its intended way. This thing is 26 years old at the time of recording, and is set exclusive in yellow. You could try and replace it with a brown version of this part, but that's from a LEGO Star Wars Droidicard set, and is only a year younger than our Throwbot friend here. It is sad, but all things have an expiry date. Maybe Subs is closer than I'd like to think. With that sad reminder of everything's mortality out of the way, here is Sub as a water skiing slicer instead. No fragile yellow tubing on this cool guy. Now, hear me out. If you're looking for another option for a faceplate for your own Slizer mocks, then Sub's faceplate is a unique blue that you could utilise if you removed the very good face printing. I know it's sacrilege to suggest such a thing, but those faceplates come in such limited colours that it would give you another option alongside the black, plain white and transparent visors that we already have. You could also clear the print from the yellow visor that Judge uses for his face too, if you need to work with a plain yellow version of this piece. But I'm not going to do that. Just an idea if you're bored of the standard faceplates for mocks. Or maybe you have a scuffed up faceplate that you want to give a new lease on life to. To conclude, Sub being in the custody of my older brother for such a long time has not tainted my look back at this set. Sure, it has some problems when it comes to the set's longevity, but they are out of the hands of the designers and the set itself. And as the last addition to the Good Guys team, Sub rounds them out rather nicely. Going forward, however, Throwbots is set to take a dark turn as we take a look back at set 8504, the leader of the evil Throwbots, Judge or Jet. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can come on back for the next one.